You cannot invent and pioneer if you cannot accept failure.
We wanted people that were insanely great at what they did.
Nobody was making any money at all. Most people thought the internet was going to be a fad.
So Yonathan and I have a growth marketing agency that at the end of the day, all Yonathan and I do is move pixels around on websites. And those pixels could be words, they could be images or videos. And this thing called AI, artificial intelligence, is coming to take all of our jobs. And guess which jobs they are going for first? The ones that involve pixels of words and images. So this podcast episode, Yonathan, is basically how AI is taking down our company, and we're going to have to, I don't know, I'm out here in Seattle. I might get into tree trimming. I think it's a lucrative business, and I don't think AI is coming for it yet. But I hope you're getting your resume updated.
You know, it's funny how those jobs that people used to mock in the past, like being a plumber and electrician, is actually the safest job profession nowadays. But yeah, I think white collar jobs are definitely under threat, and it's wise that we're talking about it.
Yeah. It's funny. I always look at companies you can buy, and whenever I see a plumbing company come on the market to buy, I'm just fascinated. And the multiples they get on a revenue per plumber basis is insane because there is a massive shortage of plumbers. Not to mention people need cleaner water with what's going on with PFAs and whatnot, but that's a whole nother conversation that we'll have to do a podcast on. All right, back to AI. So first off, like the way I think about it is, AI is coming and I'm excited. It's like we can be optimistic or we can be doomsday. We'll get into the doomsday, but I'm pretty excited to test tools because anytime I can use tools to be lazy and do my job faster and better with less input, I'm down. And I think if we can figure out how to disrupt ourselves with AI, I think we can be in a good place because the opposite is if we just ignore AI, we will get disrupted. Because I always do the framework. If I were starting an agency today, how I would take down growth hit, and I'd be using all AI to be faster and cheaper to beat us, right? And so we basically need to think about how we could do that ourselves and then either pass the savings through to clients or we launch our own businesses and you use AI to run them well. But what's like your approach when you're even thinking about using these tools?
Yeah, I think initially it's just like if you think of it as another tool, another another force multiplier for us, then I think it could be a game changer to reduce costs, make us more efficient. But the part that I always keep coming back to is like if we know how to use it well, chances are everyone else knows how to use it well. So how do you differentiate yourself on that? You kind of go back to being a commodity. So even though AI is always going to be there, it's going to be a tool. At the end of the day, our real differentiator is just the people that we have on the team, our unique insights and experiences that we bring to the table. And that's our moat, at least initially. But using AI, building it into our workflow, I think makes sense. I mean, we would have to be foolish not to use those tools. Like they're accessible to us, they make our lives easier. They allow us to do the same work for a fraction of the cost or the time. We'll definitely have to use it, and we are. But there's still a part of it that's very us, that's very unique, that people want to work with people still, and that's not going to go away in the immediate term, I don't think.
Yeah. And you bring up a good point. It's really just a tool. Like our designers use a tool like Figma, our ads team use tool like the Facebook ad managers, or you could be using Canva. And as I think about it, it's like what are the new tools that we'll be using? And we'll talk about that. Yonathan and I have like 11 tools we're testing right now. And it's basically getting the people that can use these tools to give us an unfair advantage. But to your point, you hit on the fact that we have to be able to differentiate. And what we found with AI, it's phenomenal at execution as far as creating copy or videos or graphics or summarizing things. What it's really bad at right now is strategy, right? And what that tells me is like it can do 60 to 90% of the job, but that final mile, that really will make or break it, the strategy, you still need a human involved. So luckily our jobs are maybe safe for a little bit longer, but that's been one of my big kind of revelations, is the execution versus strategy side of it.
Yes, it's actually convenient. As I told you earlier, Jim, I was watching this very long, like standard, it's called Stanford Business School interview by the founder of NVIDIA, and all AI infrastructure pretty much nowadays is built on NVIDIA. And it was very fascinating to hear him speak about like the phases of AI. Like right now it's 1.0, it's generative AI. And generative AI is like it spits out or generates content or information. You still have to be good at prompting AI and providing the necessary like context, but it's still very much just generating content based on what you've inputted. I think what's a little terrifying and what's coming in the corner in the I think near future is interactive AI. And interactive AI is not just like what we're familiar with like Siri or Alexa. It's when you actually have a real-time interaction. It's like you're bringing humans and machines together and you're interfacing, and it's a seamless interfacing as well. And that's when I think all bets are off on like white-collar jobs. In the future, like AI could be your CMO, for example, as a company, right? It's not just the implementer, the designer, but the CMO, like processing all data, inputs, making decisions in real time, and taking like computing at a level that humans cannot like, you know, cannot process or fathom, right? So that's, or like it will be your doctor or your lawyer. You'll have that one interface. And I was thinking about this, and they were actually talking about it on the recording as well. It's like, what does it do with cost, right? When your only cost at that point becomes computing cost, and obviously that's going down over time. So if like you have one AI doctor that can outperform any doctor, at least, you know, not an execution with surgery or anything like that, but like can give you the right health advice, then why go to another doctor? Like what will be the cost? Like the cost of going to your doctor would go to zero or very close to zero. And that's something like I don't even know. I had to think about that. That's like so far in the future. That actually by in so far in the future, I mean like in the next decade. I don't mean like in a century or anything like that. This is very much coming soon. But in the meantime, though, it's very much how do you prompt your AI, your generative AI, to you know produce something that's useful, and at least in our context.
Yeah, my uncle's a radiologist, and they're already seeing that like AI is doing a better job of
Oh
basically
yeah, for sure.
than a human on reading those reports. So no, it's such an interesting time, and it's moving super fast. And we have a friend who's been on the pod, Craig Swanson, and I need to get him to come on. I won't give the exact numbers, but he was able to build a funnel and an e-product that did 6 figures, and it was just him, a data set, and a bunch of AI tools and prompts. And he did it just trying to be like, can I just remove any humans and just use the existing data that I have? And he walked you and I through it, and it was extremely impressive, where you're like, oh my gosh, we've got to build this skill set. And what it told me is you need to be good at two things, or you need to have two things. One is you need to be really good at prompts to understand how to use this, but almost more importantly, like, do you have the data set? Do you have, and the data for him is like customer reviews, it's existing videos and transcripts to be able to set it up to where those prompts could do something really powerful. And that's where my head is going. It's like, okay, what data are we sitting on with clients or with Growth Head that we can use as like that it can learn upon to then create prompts to build what we want to build, if that's funnels or strategies, or go to market email campaigns or ads. That's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah, I think what's really impressive about Craig is that he just didn't do one thing. He did the entire funnel and pieced together everything. It's the best example of having one person who's, you know, coming up with a strategy. And that same person, in this case at least, knew how he was technical enough to kind of pull together all the different moving parts of that funnel, build it together, you know, connect, run, you know, a command and what's called a code editor to, you know, run Python scripts and what you call input all the data sets from previous copy or content that influencers had produced, and then generate something in that influencer's voice so it feels authentic. So that's really impressive. And I don't think many people even know that that's possible. And quite frankly, I didn't even until you showed it to me. But I think in one of the tools that I'll be discussing later or sharing with you, like what Craig did works for someone who's technical, who knows how to play with a code editor, who knows how to, code in Python and things like that. But there's some human-friendly interfaces or tools that have been built intentionally to be human-friendly or essentially like look like any, like your Google search bar essentially, and you just input information, connect your different data sources, and can do pretty much what Craig did, but on a very friendly terms. So
Yeah.
that's something I'll share later as well.
And what Craig did essentially was like he had this data set of old videos and transcripts. It's like, okay, make a landing page in the style of like a Mad Men writer. Make the ad copy in this format or structure. Make the creative with this. And it just would output all these options, and then he would pick and choose what he wanted to do. And he did this for ads, he did this for the landing page, he did this for the emails. It was super impressive. Obviously, it takes different iterations, but we all know it's doable, but seeing him do that, and again, he's technical, so he could do it. But yeah, you and I have some tools we've been playing with because it's very overwhelming though. Is like there's 20 bazillion new tools launching every day to know what to work on. And I think the thing we've been telling the team, it's like you don't have to find the best tool, just find a tool to tinker with to see if it makes your job easier, if it saves time or money, or adds more value to the client. But we have some people on our team that are doing a phenomenal job of that, and we have other people, sometimes myself included, that you get a little paralysis analysis. You're like, I don't know what to do. I'm just going to go back to an empty Google Doc. But maybe we should just get into some of the tools we're testing or liking. Well, what's one that you have that you've been playing with?
I think there's really just one that I definitely scanned the internet and been using several, but the one that stands out the most to me is Zapier Central. And the reason is because they are so strategically positioned, right? They are connected with, I believe it was 6,000 apps already. So they're like, they're where your data already exists, right? So if it's in Google Sheets or your Slack chat or a Slack channel or your Evernote or your Notion or whatever, they're already connected. So they've built the infrastructure already for you. And now with Zapier Central, they've built a human-friendly interface to pull in all your data sources and make meaningful or like produce meaningful content or whatever. So you could connect your GA4 and Shopify database or backend, I should say, with Zapier and run queries or prompts to pull insights that maybe you wouldn't have thought of. You still need to prompt it correctly, but I think from what I've seen in tools, I think it's the most flexible one, the most usable one, and the most customizable one as well. And it's very powerful. We're definitely putting it at use now, trying to connect many data sources on client projects and see if we can produce something that's useful, that's meaningful at a faster and obviously cheaper rate. So that's the one I'm most excited about. And I know Zapier it's already a unicorn. It's not public, but if it was, I would say like invest in Zapier because I think they have the most leverage in this ecosystem right now.
Yeah, that it's so smart because like they already have like the data flowing in and out, so they could do this really well. Can you give even more color? Like, what's a use case that we're testing that you're the most excited could work, or like where do you think it wins in the early days?
So one exercise that we do many times for clients is we run polls on their websites, right? Trying to understand what their abandoning visitors are saying about the brand. Like, why is that person not converting? So we run that poll on the website. We capture, let's say, 100 or 200 responses. Now, what do you do with those 100 or 200 responses? What we are about to test is feeding it into Zapier Central. So feeding that sheet into Zapier Central, running prompts to understand what is the main concern here. What are the most like reoccurring problems? What are commonly used phrases and things like that to kind of drill deeper into the main problem, and then use those insights to improve that website. So it's still very much complementary to the strategy. We have to prompt it correctly, but it's doing all the analysis that a human being would have to do in literally seconds. So that's the huge game changer on that front, and that's just one of many examples.
One that I'm testing right now is for email. So if you're on Klaviyo, maybe ActiveCampaign, there's this one called Ripple AI, where it'll integrate with your Shopify store, get your product catalog, your customer reviews, basically all the copy on your website or through any other Shopify apps or previous Klaviyo emails. And it's like, all right, give us your brand guidelines, what product you want to push. Boom, it spits out a template with copy. It'll even tell you what to A/B test, what to push, when to send it. It is magic, and it's something that I'm having our creative director and our designers play with to be like, hey, how much time can this save? Are these templates actually any good? But it really helps people, especially if you're not a design centric team, to make templates really fast. So it's one of those, I think it'll save like 80% of our time with emails if it goes well. So that's one I've been pretty blown away by. It's one of those, you see the demo and you're just like, you're running the numbers in your head like, oh wow, that just saved us like 5 hours with that one thing that we normally used to do and would take half a day. But that's one I've been blown away by.
Yeah. And I'll actually, before I go to another tool, hit on another use case of Zapier. I've seen this on their site. I actually haven't tried it, but it's for sales teams where they, at least the way it's set up is you can pull in all the context around the lead that you're about to reach out to. So like literally all of that person's breadcrumbs on the internet. So by the time you get on the call, you know who they are, what they like doing on the weekend, the last image they posted on Instagram, things like that. And you have all that contextual information going into that call. So I saw that briefly and I thought that was impressive. I haven't tested it yet, but or I haven't, gone through the process of implementing it, but
Yeah.
it's fascinating. That's unbelievable.
And to piggyback off that use case, I'll throw out two more. Apollo AI has been really good for any sales outreach to know more about the potential personas you want to go after. And then Genius AI has, if you have a B2B company where you need sales and marketing to talk to each other, and then incorporate the learnings of those specific personas with specific copy or hand off stuff from your CRM to your sales team. That one is one that we might be implementing with our stuff. That's pretty impressive.
Another one I want to hit on is Needle. Needle is something that we're in the process of really testing on several different brands. It pulls in all the data from GA4 and I believe Shopify are the two main data sources, and it points out the main problems with that site, that e-commerce store. Like let's say your ads landing page conversion rate is down by 10% today versus the same time last month or the same time last year. It pulls out meaningful insights that you can action. So what makes this one fascinating is that it's less about implementation and actually probably the closest to strategy. It gives you the strategic insights you need to carry into implementation, into deciding what to prioritize or what to do next. So that's a big fascinating one that we're about to test.
Yeah. That's one that I want to see how those recommendations are, because that could be huge, especially for training some people that we have. I'll go to one where if you are sitting on a lot of content, that could be podcast content, sales calls and transcripts, it could be YouTube videos. There's this one called Cast Magic where you can upload all of the content that you have and then use that to make social posts, make ads, short form videos, short form image assets, or copy. So it can basically build upon the data set that you have. That's one that I'm like looking for a day with open space, because I just want to dump all of our assets in there and see what we can do with it. But it's essentially what Craig Swanson did, but without you having to get into the code at all.
Yeah, and something that's interesting with all of these tools is just how they monetize. I mean, the feeling I get is like I don't know if you had this experience when you were middle school, or I think it was late elementary, Jim, or like it felt like a new search engine was being produced every day. You'd come to school and someone was using something new. That's the feeling I get. Like it's still wild, wild west, and I don't know what the plan for monetizing all of this is. So I'm keeping a close eye on that. It's fascinating, but yeah, in terms of other tools, there are many. I know you have a list, but I think the one that I'm most impressed with that literally does everything you've mentioned except the videos is Zapier Central. So if in doubt, go back to Zapier Central is my recommendation.
No, that's cool. And I'll do a speed round of some of the creative ones. If you work a lot in Figma and you want to turn Figma designs into websites, Reloom is one where it'll basically like do the Figma design for you, get it 90% of the way there, you tweak it, and then boom, it'll turn into a Webflow site. That's one that we definitely have our eyes on because we do a lot of work in that space. And then on the ad creative, we're testing a lot of stuff. You've got Creatify that'll make user-generated content videos. You got VidNose to make just videos. You've got Ad Creatives AI, great domain, that does ad creatives. And so we're testing all of these to see like, okay, which one could really help. And then I know Tyson on the SEO team is testing out Style AI for some SEO help. But again, there's a bazillion out there. These are the ones that have kind of gone through that first level of testing to see what we should do. I'm more so worried about all these subscriptions we have and canceling the ones we don't use because the subscription bloat could get quite big quite quickly.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. But yeah, that's an interesting test. I think we'll share any insights or any interesting tools that become part of our permanent workflow. But yeah, that's a cool list that you shared.
Yeah, we'll see, man. More to go. The other good thing with Need and these other side projects, or even our own like content marketing, because I don't want to roll these out on our clients until we've tested it. So it's like we're just testing it on ourselves to see what we like and don't like. Like I accidentally scheduled 3 tweets today with the tool, and they all went out, and I was like, "Crap, that was not the intended goal as I was testing something." But yeah, very aggressive with my my tweeting or Xing today. But yeah, gotta test and learn with some of these.
Yeah, it's awesome.